Good evening. This is the Athens City Shade Tree Commission meeting for June 10th, 2021. We have a fairly short agenda, I think, this evening. We have no decisions to make on Title 33 issues, tree permits and so on. I can just report that I did sign off on that tree permit we had for North Congress, where someone had a tree that was particularly badly crowded and were asking for permission to remove it. And so that's been given to the, I passed that on to the city, and I assume the city has now told them they can proceed with that one. Any other comments at all on Title 33 right-of-way issues? If not, I don't have any landscape ordinance issues. I don't know if, David Riggs, you've got any plans that are going to be coming our way in the near future?
Good evening, everybody. No, I don't have anything at this time. I was just, I think we've canceled the next Planning Commission meeting as well because we just don't have anything in the pipeline. Okay.
Thank you. Well, we're into the maintenance of the tree canopy. Planning. I've had a more detailed look at East State Street, particularly the east end of East State Street, near to Menards and so on. And the only opportunities I can see for planting trees on that east end of East State Street would be perhaps some large shade trees on the opposite side of the road from Menards and back towards town. That might be an interesting place to help with calming of traffic and so on as people are coming into the city. There is obviously a lot of trees up on the hillside there. But if that was ever developed, then we would lose those trees. And so this may be an opportune time to think about putting trees in that position. The other place to put trees, but these would have to be small trees, would be between Menards and the Pepsi plant. We've got high voltage cables on the south side of East State Street. But there are lots of places there where we could put clusters of small trees, and that's something that I know Ann Bonner has encouraged us to think about.
Well, the old crabapple thing was pretty nice.
Yeah, I think we can be a bit more imaginative than just crab apples, but certainly a few stands of crab apples along there would be nice. The way that Anne suggested planting trees there is in clusters. Rather than putting out long strings of small trees. It sort of breaks things up a bit more. And it also, she thinks, helps the trees to grow if they're together in a group.
She said that before, that they like to be together.
They like to be together. Yes.
So I spoke to Andrew at the city and the mayor, and we have been given a budget for planting and maintenance of trees. A minimum of $4,000 for this year. In talking with Kevin Skurlock and Andrew, the city does not currently have capacity to plant trees, to water, or to maintain. And so we had a contract that was set with Mason Chambers. Since his passing, I have reached out to Greenleaf and asked them to provide a quote. They haven't yet. I did speak to them briefly today, so I'm hoping that they will let me know if they want to provide a quote within the next week. So based on Mason's quote, the $4,000 will probably be sufficient to plant 20 to 30 trees. And in talking with the mayor, it appears that his priorities, at least when I spoke to him, was for West State Street and then perhaps for Carroll Road. We could talk to him about East State Street also, but quite honestly, 20 to 30 trees can easily be planted at West State Street.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And also, I guess they're going to be doing some construction with some parking. And so what Kevin and Andrew have asked is that when we know how many trees we're capable of planting based on finances, that we put together a plan and we run it by them. So that way the trees are not in the way of construction and also don't cause a hardship for mowing.
So this is at West State Street.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I thought we had a
Yes.
plan for that one.
Yeah, we had a nominal plan, but that was prior to knowing that new parking was going
Oh, I
in.
see.
So, yeah, we've got to redo some things, but we also have to see how much money we have for planting and maintenance. As I said, I hope within the next week or two, I am pushing them to get a quote. If Greenleaf doesn't want to provide us a quote or the quote is unreasonable, I'll have, do people have suggestions? I know that, Joshua is a possibility, but from what I hear that, that's not exactly their expertise, but also they tend to be more expensive. Any other options?
I'm sorry, what was the name of the company that you just said? Dodrell? What?
Joshua.
Joshua. Okay, Joshua. I have some mixed feelings about Greenleaf, but who knows? Maybe they would do a good job.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, others we've used in the past, and I don't know whether he's still in business to do this, is Rudy Baumgartel.
Okay.
Maybe, yeah, so if you can send me any contacts for any individuals, that way I'll just send them the same email, and that way we can get equivalent quotes.
Oh, yeah.
Hopefully.
This is sort of off the subject, but I just wondered, Roxanne, are you going to be our contact with the city government?
I would say that David nominally is the contact for the city government.
Nancy, the person should be the council member.
Well, I'm just wondering where Roxanne is fitting in here.
Oh, why? It's because it came in as part of Athens and Bloom.
Yeah.
And I am the lead for Athens and Bloom. And so then I spoke to David, and we're just treating it as a joint collaboration between Shade Tree and Athens and Bloom.
Okay.
She gets more opportunities to meet with city people than I do.
Yeah, makes sense. I just wondered where it all was working.
Yeah.
Not a problem. If anybody wants to take it from me, I will not fight you for it. I promise.
What?
We're thrilled, Roxanne.
I said I wouldn't fight you for it, Nancy, if you wanted to take it from me. Steve
I'm not wanting to take it from you.
And sort of gave me his pronouncements of what he wanted to happen, and West State Street tree planting was one of them.
Yeah.
So happy to help the mayor out with trying to get some priorities done.
Yeah, and trying to coordinate stuff across the city is hard, and that's why it's useful to have Roxanne in this dual role between Athens and Bloom and the Shade Tree Commission. Are we still planning on using any of the Menards trees for this West State Street project?
Only, yeah.
Okay.
What I've said is that we're using the Menards trees. The issue is that. And actually, David Rinks, I wanted to ask you, did we get any information back on how soon we need to use these trees? Is there any language in there that says, these 300 trees are available through X date, otherwise we forfeit them?
Sure, there's no time limit on this. Although I would, if we waited, just my suggestion, if we were to wait several years before we made any move, we might lose the people that were involved in it, because they move around in that company. So we've got the agreement. There's no time limit on it. They did tell us, and we want to make sure we can do this if possible. They said they'd like a lot of lead time. So if we want to do that this fall, I'd want to give them 2 or 3 months advance notice so that they can get the trees that you guys would like. And they said, you just tell us what species of trees you want and we'll get them for you. So.
Perfect.
Do you know if they have a limitation on size? Because we typically plant trees of a certain caliper, and we don't really want to plant whips.
Sure. The agreement was for 2-inch DBH ball and burlapped.
Yeah. So they're big trees.
Those are big trees, and they'll be expensive to plant.
Yeah. I have a question. You know, I think is it 317 trees that we have in the tree bank?
The Menards agreement was for 370, I believe.
Or 70, okay. That's a tremendous number of trees. Is there any chance that they would be willing to change the agreement to, you know, like 100 trees and then pay us some amount of money per tree? Or, because I just don't see us using 370 trees in any reasonable amount of time.
Sure. So I took the opportunity to ask Lisa Eliason, our law director, about that. Mm-hmm. And she said that that would not be possible to do.
Okay. And did you ask Lisa whether or not we could get the trees from Menards and then have a tree sale so that way we could make
Yeah, I asked her about that. And I asked her about that as well. And she would not recommend that.
Why not? Because it's in competition with Menards?
I don't want to speak for her, but she said that she wouldn't recommend it. I could get some details from her maybe if you'd like on why she thinks that's a bad idea.
Yeah, because genuinely we can't use the trees. We're not going to use 370 trees. We don't have the finances to plant them and water them and maintain them. So I'm just trying to think of a creative way to, you know, get money.
Yeah, I think it's worth thinking about some more. The 2 ideas so far just didn't work out, but maybe there's some other things we can figure out.
Or maybe we can push on the law director and just find out, you know, what are the pain points?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Well, when a lawyer uses the term recommend, it doesn't mean you can't do it.
Yeah, but she might have some really, you know, good reasons for us not to do it. And I can imagine her saying, you know, it would be in direct competition. You know, Menard sells trees. So I don't know if they would want us selling their trees, you know, at some reduced price. Yeah.
But I'd also like to hear why she thinks we can't renegotiate the deal with Menards as well.
Mm-hmm.
Is it possible to invite her to a meeting or to set up a meeting maybe with her?
Well, I 2 of us can meet with her without having to have it as a public meeting and get information. Mm-hmm. The alternative is we ask her to come to one of our meetings and explain to us what the issues are. And David Riggs, if you'd like to ask her what she would prefer, then you know I'm willing to go with whatever she would prefer. If she wants to just meet with me and one other tree commissioner, then that's fine.
Mm-hmm.
Certainly, I can do that. Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think in talking to Steve with the CARES money that the city has received, it was pretty easy for him to guarantee us a budget for this year and probably next year. Thereafter, we're going to have to figure out, you know, a budget perhaps, you know, from the money that we make from tree banking. Mm-hmm. And not all the money that is collected from the tree bank will be designated for the Shade Tree Commission. There are other priorities as well, I was told, for that money.
Oh, really? Oh my gosh.
Well, technically, the money goes into the general fund because it's all green. This has always been one of the issues.
It will be related to landscaping and horticulture, but not necessarily shade trees.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, the contract with, the way that, the man who just passed away,
Mason?
the way he said, the way Mason did it for the city before was that he basically took care of the trees for a year.
Correct.
So he maintained them and watered them, and then if they didn't survive, he'd replace them. And that would be something that would be really key to do with whoever does plant the trees. I mean, if we could.
I did put that in the quote.
Oh, excellent. Thank you.
Yeah. I didn't say that they would have to replace the trees. I assume that we would get more from Menards, but I did say that.
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah.
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 One other thing regarding maintenance, just because you reminded me, Lee, I've been watering at the Armory recently for Athens and Bloom, and I noticed that trees along that street, there are quite a few of them that are in drastic need of pruning. Some of them have water sprouts, and others just haven't had their first prune. So I was wondering, how do we prioritize trees for some kind of pruning maintenance?
If they are ones that we personally can prune, then we just need to come up with a schedule for doing it. If it's something that we're going to need the city or a contractor to do, we're going to have to figure that one out separately.
They're small trees. We could definitely do them. I guess normally summer pruning would be reasonable, but in talking with Anne recently, she's very concerned about anthracnose. It's been quite bad this year. And they're also really concerned about blight. And so I'd like to talk to her and get her recommendation, because when I spoke to her, she was really advising against doing any pruning right now.
Yeah, but you can't not prune for an entire year. And I'm afraid if you ask Anne when you can prune, you won't get a straight answer.
Oh, okay. I was just wondering if we mark the cuts now and then prune in the winter, because I've done that before, where you just spray paint a little bit so you know what you should cut later.
Yeah.
I think that those trees are pretty desperate, the ones that are on, what is it, Washington? Or is it East State? No, it's actually East State, right? By the Armory.
Well, one of the there's so many controversies about when to prune, but pruning after dormancy sets in is one of the recommended times. It's a good time for, and it's not so hot, which is another thing, which is nice. But some people who do pruning, what their recommendation boils down to is when we have time, then we prune. But I think the warning about anthracnose is very good to know. So
it's been a bad year, they've noticed.
So is doing it in the winter in dormancy better because of that?
Yes.
Yeah. But it's early dormancy is really good, after they get into dormancy, but not wait till the dead of winter. So.
Yeah, we can have a pruning party on East State Street.
Yes.
Alvy and I used to drive around with her pickup truck and some tools and basically have at it. The other piece you need to consider, and her pickup truck used to get overwhelmed, and so what we had to do was leave piles for the city to pick up. So we have to arrange ahead of time with the city that they will come and pick up the brush.
I believe David Sinkoff has a truck.
I do too.
Yes.
Oh, do you? Wonderful.
Yeah.
We're even happier you're on the tree commission, Roxanne.
Yeah. So.
Well, that sounds like a lot of plans. Is there anything else that is on people's minds?
Well, I have a tree, and that it's sitting between, actually it's probably on John Katowski's property, but it's sort of right between, and it is dead, quite dead. It overhangs the street, and it's only a couple of feet from the edge of the street. So I'm guessing it's probably in the right of way.
Well, what you need to do is to fill out a tree permit and
Okay.
send it to me, and I'll move it through the system.
Okay.
And I think you should have received a copy of the tree permit from Andrew recently. If you haven't got one, you should be able to download one from the city website. But
Okay.
I think there was some issue that David Sinkoff had with it, and Andrew sent out a copy, and I thought he sent it to all of us. But
Okay. I
if you
didn't
can't
notice it,
find
but
it,
I'll look. Okay.
yeah, if you can't find it, just let me know, and I'll send you
Okay.
one. We need to know the location of the tree, really, so that if a code officer will have to go out and check it,
Sure.
that it's in the right of way. That's all we need
Well,
to know.
I noticed my other neighbor out taking pictures, so I think a complaint has probably been lodged, and I thought, oops,
Okay.
maybe I need to fill out a permit.
Yeah, well,
I was hoping that John Katowski would, but
yeah. Well, you can always nudge him and see if he will.
yeah, good point.
Yeah.
I have a question. Something we talked about a couple meetings ago was the fact that the ordinance had changed to allow pollinator gardens.
I don't believe that's passed yet.
It hasn't? I thought Chris Nisley had told me it had.
Well, if he has, that is very recent news, because
Oh, okay.
as of the meeting that we should have had in May, it hadn't.
Okay, when it does pass, that is something that falls to the tree commission, right?
I've no idea. Let me have a look at the website, city website, and see if it's there.
Okay. I was just curious if anybody had filed for any allowances for taller grass yet. Calling it a pollinator garden.
Here we go. Title 33. No, this looks like the old one. Yep, this is still the old one. They haven't published the new one.
Okay, maybe we could ask.
So the latest we've got is that version that we had circulated from the council, or from Chris a while ago.
David, have you heard anything? David Briggs?
Hi, yeah, I think we got the third reading on that, but it takes 30 days for it to become effective after that third reading.
Okay.
So it's not effective at this time. I think it will be by our next meeting.
So, forgive my ignorance, but let's just say that, somebody, doesn't mow their lawn and, there's a complaint and, are you the person who gets called in to see whether or not it's a code violation? How does that work?
Yeah, so we're responsible for high grass and weeds, and somebody would call for high grass and weeds, and we would go out and first we'd check to see if they have a pollinator certificate, and if they do, then we wouldn't go farther with that weed requirement that we have.
Could you clarify what that is, the pollinator certificate?
I'm not sure I understand it completely yet at this time. A pollinator yard is somebody who pays.
No, I mean, is it something that the city government
Who
provides?
certifies?
I don't know that there's a certification. I think you apply for a permit, and once you get it, you become a pollinator.
Okay. So it's a city permit that they
It's a
have
city
to apply for?
Yeah, it's a city permit, yeah.
And do you know what the qualifications are? Is it X number of pollinator species?
I do not know. Yeah, I don't know.
Okay.
Well, hopefully it's in that copy of the legislation that we've been given. I haven't got it in front of me at the moment. Let me see if I can find it.
And it's okay. I mean, if it has nothing to do with shade tree and you're doing it or somebody else is doing it, I'm good with that. But I guess if we are somehow responsible for reviewing the paperwork for those certifications. I guess we all have to sort of bone up on what those certifications are.
Yeah, I'll have to look and see what that legislation actually says.
Okay.
I don't know myself.
Okay, just let us know.
Yeah, I can't find my copy at the moment of it, so I don't know where it's.
I don't have the latest, yeah.
So, Roxanne, did somebody give you the impression that the Shade Tree Commission would be involved in these?
Yes.
Well, it comes about because it's part of Title 33, which is the code that establishes us. So the presumption would be that we would have some role in this.
Okay.
This was all included in that new thing that we received a copy of.
Yeah, I can't find it.
Also, the mayor had asked whether or not I was willing to take on that initiative, and just so you all know, I said no.
Good, thank you.
You know, we could
put it under Athens and Bloom, well, or me, and I just said that was too much.
If we're charged with doing it, we could probably use the ones that are in effect for. I'm not sure which organization actually provides it, but you can apply for a pollinator garden certificate and get a sign and put it in your yard. We can use the same.
Nancy, is there are at least 3 different organizations that do it, and some of them only require 2 or 3 pollinator species. They don't require numbers of plants or density of plants. It's just you have 2 or 3 species. So I would like to think that is not the minimum qualification.
Well, I think there's one of them that has more than that.
Oh yeah, there definitely are. We'll just have to look at the language.
So we can look at what they have and see what we can use from that.
I think it's in the title. I think it's in code already. I think that they did put some language in. I just don't remember what it is.
In defense of I'm sorry, David.
I was just trying to point out that we've got 30 days at least before that code is required. Right. And at that point, by that point, I'm certainly going to get a hold of a copy of it and read through it and find out. And so, I'm not too keen on keeping on speculating on what is happening and what isn't happening.
Okay.
Okay, let me see if I can find this. No, I'm drawing a blank on the copy that Chris sent me. I don't know why I can't find it. Must have filed it some strange place.
You had it after one of your meeting minutes, I think.
Yeah, I think you're right, Nancy. Yes, thank you. Yes,
2-3 months ago, maybe.
Okay, let me have a look and see if I can find it that way. Yeah.
I think there might have been an update though since then, David, because we did give some input after that.
Well, I didn't get any other copy of it. Let's see. That's not in February. Let's try January. Yes, there we go. Well, it's a little bit of it. I'm going to share my screen. I don't know how good this is going to get. So this is the bit that was attached to our minutes in January. It's I think it's this. Well, this is actually coming in chapter 9 of the code, not 33. But okay, the properties that are registered and fully in compliance with the native pollinator friendly yard registration program 370204. That's interesting. So it's according to this, it's going to be in 3702. I thought it was going to be 3302, but maybe I'm wrong. Because 37 is the one that deals with the commercial landscape ordinance. I'm not sure why they would have chosen to put it in there. But I think that's all I have got. Although I'm looking at this, I think there's a mistake here. I think these references should be 3302 and not 3702, because certainly the celebration tree program is in the new version of it, and the tree bank mitigation fee, I think, is in there as well. So, oh no, that could be
370204. It says.
Yeah. Well, I'm pretty sure it's not in that part of the code.
David, do you happen to remember when they did the third reading? I'm just curious when 30 days is.
Yeah, I don't know the answer to that. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Yeah, and I've never managed to find the city council agenda on the city's website, so I don't know where you're supposed to look to find those things.
This is when we need our city council representative.
Certainly is. It certainly is. Anyway, I will investigate. I'll find out what we're doing with the. Okay, what I'll probably do is send Chris File an email asking her if actually, if it's been passed, I can probably get a copy from the city council person whose name escapes me at the moment. Debbie Walker, is it?
Yes.
I think, yeah. I'll contact Debbie, because she will have an official copy, or she can send me an official copy once it's been passed. Okay, anything else? I'm going to stop sharing my screen. There we are.
Oh.
Yeah. If not, we have the minutes of the last meeting. And I will try and share. Oh, I've got a. No, I haven't got a raised hand. I thought someone had raised their hand, but I don't think so. The minutes of the April meeting. Okay. So let me remind you, the April meeting was the one at which we passed the approval for the Kershaw Green and Tyler Park developments, and that also included tree banking fees, with the recommendation that the City Code Office receive 75% before the development proceeds. David, whereabouts are we on those two developments?
So they've been approved by the Planning Commission, and they have been working on making the final plans to send to the Code Office for review and approval. That includes there's a bunch of stuff: the landscaping, the soil and water conservation, zoning, curb cut, that kind of stuff. So they have not submitted any of that yet. They haven't started work. The only thing that they have submitted is for some signage. And I think we're approving that this week.
Okay. Thank you.
So, could I ask something?
Yeah.
Did anybody? We went out to look at it, and it's so close to the river. Are they worried at all about flood? Is it on the floodplain?
So yeah, the back of the property is in a approximate A zone. I think that's Foundry Creek. It's a tributary to Margaret's Creek, but there is a floodplain in the back where that creek is.
But they're probably going to be building up the level so that the building will probably be put up on do you think they're planning for that?
Yeah, they're doing a lot of grading, so those building sites will be much higher, I think, than the existing ground there now.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Just curious.
One of them. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
One of them had concrete pads on it.
Any other questions about the minutes from the April 8th meeting? If there's no further questions, can I have someone to move to approve?
I move to approve.
Thank you, James. And the second? You don't have to be there to approve the minutes.
Oh, then I approve.
Thank you, Roxanne. Thank you. Are there any objections to approving the minutes of the last meeting? Hearing none, we have minutes of our last meeting. Our next meeting will be on July 8th. And at this stage, I just want to pause and ask people if they have any particular opinions about meeting in person on July 8th, because it is possible that we may be asked, or we may be given the choice. It still isn't clear, but we may be asked to meet in person in future, or we may be given the choice of meeting in person or on Zoom. So does anyone have any strong feelings either way?
I suppose we ought to get used to it again.
Well, we have plenty of time to get used to it.
Yeah. And, given how many of us there are and the size of that dais that they give us at the city council to sit at, and the distance we are away from the great unwashed that regularly come to meet to view our meetings, I don't think we've got too many things to worry about. So personally, I have no issues with meeting in person, but if people do and they want to share them with me privately, I'd certainly appreciate hearing about them. But that may, as I say, this is something that we may be asked about or asked to do for our next meeting. So I thought I'd just raise it here just to see if there are any strong feelings either way.
Well, personally, I would prefer to not meet in person until August, but
Okay, understood.
That's the convenience for me. So.
Okay.
Is the mask mandate still in force in city buildings?
That I don't know.
Is David Riggs still with us?
Yes, he is.
Okay.
Yeah, the way I understand it is if you've been fully vaccinated, you don't have to wear a mask in the city building. If you have not been fully vaccinated, they recommend that you do wear a mask.
So it's the honor system.
Somewhat, yep. Okay, I think we've now reached the point where I'm going to adjourn the meeting. Thank you for all attending, and we'll be in touch about the July meeting.